The last thing I'll ask regarding Jujutsu Kaisen before we move on is on one thing, it could be seen as a meme or it can be seen as a criticism. One thing that I've been seeing throughout social media is the overcomplicated nature of the power system for Jujutsu Kaisen. Where it's like, bro, I don't know what's going on.
Excuse me.
And I'm looking at this, I seen it, and I'm like, bro, I gotta rewatch. Do you think that is a warranted criticism for Jujutsu Kaisen for the power system? Because we know when it comes to JJK, at the very least, I believe the thing that is the biggest selling point, other than maybe Gojo or Sukuna, is the fight and the power system. But if it's overly complicated, does that push people away? What do y'all think?
I don't know about overly complicated, but it does have a lot of layers. Like when you really think of, because it's not. It's like curse technique, curse energy, reverse curse technique, domain expansion, domain amplification. Like and then like the nature of people's curse techniques and the nature of their domain expansion. So it's a lot of layers that go into it. So besides Akari's complicated domain when it comes to like the gambling and all that stuff, I don't really think anyone else has a really complicated thing. I feel like it just has a lot of layers, so people have to pay attention to like a lot of different aspects of a fight.
I ain't gonna hold you. I don't really think it's complicated. I feel like the
Sounds
only
like privilege. I don't know why.
what well, I feel like it's just me, right? It's crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you, but
Privilege is crazy.
I feel like
Privilege is
I feel like
crazy.
I feel like there's long explanations, but it's not really like hard to really understand. But unless you want to say a lot of information, but also I feel like some things we should just take it as like as simple as possible if it is complicated. For example, right? There's a long explanation to infinity, but all you need to know is you can't touch them. Like let's just you can't touch them, right? For Hakari's domain expansion, well, if he gets a jackpot, you can't die. Like I feel like if you break it down like that, that can give you a general understand what's going on. Now, if you want to go deeper into like the ins and outs of it, but just in general, that's just how it works. If I have a domain expansion, I get all my attacks automatically land unless you have zero curse energy like Maki and Toji, or if you have domain amplification like a shield around you, like stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like a lot of powers when they get complicated, just simplify it.
Or also simple domain, like
Yeah,
I just feel like it has a lot of layers. I don't think it's complicated. It's just like a lot of different aspects to the fights.
yeah. So if the explanation is long, just simplify it. Like I mean, people say, "How does Infinity really work?" They're breaking it down. It's like you're like, bro, you can't touch Dojo, bro. Like,
No, I'll say that Jujutsu
That's a
Kaisen,
great. I
like
like that question. That's a great question.
I think for Jujutsu Kaisen, um, I think it's fair to say it's complicated. Now, like obviously, if you intend to read it, and you know you're pretty good at comprehending certain things, then you would understand it better than others. But for the casual audience, I'm not surprised they'll get confused. I mean, same thing with Hunter x Hunters, because someone brought that up. If you understand, then you can understand this. I mean, if you see Hunter x Hunter for the first time and you're a casual audience that never really pays attention to this complicated stuff, and you see it, more than likely you're not going to understand what you're saying in the first time, depending on how smart you are. So I think it's very fair to say it's complicated, but that doesn't mean that it will take away the enjoyment, which is a fair thing to be said. And like Ty said, simplifying it is also a very easy way to do things because you can simplify a lot of these things.
Can we answer this question real quick? Does obviously you guys have watched the really long series weekly, so maybe you guys are more apt to answer that question about if they were weekly anime. I How would you guys feel about those two shows if they were weekly anime?
To answer honestly, it doesn't work in this market anymore because the Japan realized that hey, like we're low key hurting our product by making like by forcing these guys to come out with chapters every week and then not giving them breaks. And then we see what happened to the creator of Hunter x Hunter. Like when we see what the author Gege, like he had some health issues because he was pushing himself weekly, and so he eventually had to get a different schedule.
Horikoshi as well.
Yeah,
Horikoshi
so it's like,
repeated breaks because of his health. He's really pushing himself to finish the
but
My
we
Hero
also
Academia
seen
story.
the other side of negatives with it is where the episodes catch up to the manga, and the next thing you know, we get a bunch of filler. Or they start saying, hey, this guy's not working enough. And so the studio decides to make up their own stories, like a Soul Eater. So
I was gonna ask you guys why. I asked this in My Hero Academia video I did it a while back. Because I feel that especially the final arc of My Hero is not that good to me. But I'm like, would it be just be too hard for them to like, look, man, let's just take a break. We got other anime we can animate. Let's take a break. Let Horikoshi get healthy. Because My Hero Academia is always gonna sell, right? It's always gonna
Mhm.
sell. So
Mhm.
let the anime studio take its time and animate something else, and then we can just come back. It's not like people are gonna be like, "Yo, Horikoshi's finally healthy. Bet we're gonna finally watch more of My Hero." We're still gonna be that way, right?
Right.
Is that too hard of a thing to do? You think?
Depends on how much money needs to come in. I don't know. Ideally, I hear what you're saying,
Yeah, that
but
is what
you
people
know how
really
greedy
want.
these studios are, so they're not gonna really care. As for like the question, I mean, this is Demon Slayer, this is JJK. If they're a weekly anime, Demon Slayer is this one down here, right? That animation quality is not going to be nearly good enough to propel Demon Slayer like it did. JJK, I don't go like here. I think JJK still would be popular, but I do think it'll go down in terms of quality for the anime. And the big thing for JJK is also its fights. So these two series, I think, will take a dip. Demon Slayer more so. I think JJK was pretty popular before the anime, so I think it'll be fine. But Demon Slayer doesn't become the juggernaut it does without the amazing animation that happened in the Ryu fight. So
So
yeah,
is One
it
Piece
takes a huge deep dive.
the last weekly anime? Then is One Piece gonna be that?
Yeah, but also the animation for that. And not that it hasn't improved, but it was not like it low key like the last few years started like really like catching up to like a lot of the bigger
Hmm.
animations. But also like, you saw that like when it came to like some very big episodes, what would happen? They would take an extra week off, or they would take a few weeks off, or stuff like that. Like we saw with Gear 5, like oh they took like some time off before Gear 5 came out,
Mhm.
or they
You
were
see,
working
My
on
Hero
it ahead of
Academia, they
time.
take a huge nosedive in terms of recent quality. So yeah, it just wouldn't be great for these series.
Yeah, so it's just not that time anymore.